All right, let's do it, y'all. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Talking some Knicks here on the show. Waiting for some more people to join the stream. Hit me up in the chat. Appreciate you following us at Ty D Butler on Instagram, on Twitter, streaming live on YouTube as well. Kris Pursiainen of ClutchPoints going to join us in a moment. Talk about a big weekend for the Knicks. You've got the Pistons tonight. You've got the Celtics on Sunday right before the Super Bowl. So nice little tasty sports buffet that we have coming up here. I'm excited to break it down, and our guests are going to be joining us soon. Looks like there are some injury nuggets we should highlight. Karl Anthony Towns, who is dealing with an eye laceration, is listed as doubtful to play tonight. So it does not look like he's going to give it a go. But the good news is Josh Hart is questionable with that ankle injury, so he is expected to play. OG has an injury designation as questionable, dealing with some soreness, but he is expected to play as well. So big game for the Knicks tonight in Detroit. I'm shocked that they are 1.5-point favorites. Now, the Pistons did play last night, so it's the second half of a back-to-back. They lost to the Wizards, which helps the Knicks. The Knicks want that Wizards pick. And, the Knicks also want to catch Detroit in the standings. They're now 5 games back of them for the number 1 seed. So that was a pretty good day for the Knicks. On the same day, Giannis doesn't get traded out of Milwaukee. And so everything coming up right for the Knicks. But I am very fascinated to see how they play in this game tonight. Couple weeks ago, they got blasted by the Pistons, absolutely annihilated, smoked. And this is their get back. Now, I know ultimately people are going to say the regular season doesn't matter. We saw what happened with the Celtics, and the Knicks beat them in the playoffs. I still think there's value in regular season games. And I also, if I'm a Knicks fan, don't want to have the Pistons in a spot where they can gain all this confidence, and they do just that because they, for the second time, beat us this year. So is it the end all be all? No, regardless of what happens. I also think that this game is more important for the Pistons. It's more important for the Pistons than the Knicks. The Knicks have proven they can beat Detroit. Now, last year was a lesser version of the Pistons, and they've since improved. But the Knicks go into the playoffs thinking any team we play, we can beat. The Pistons, there are still questions about that because that's an organization that has not won a playoff series in nearly 2 decades. I think 2008 is the last time the Pistons won a playoff series. And so big game tonight, just as far as, kind of whetting the appetite and getting a potential preview of the conference finals between 2 of the Eastern Conference heavyweights, a matchup that we saw a couple weeks ago. Detroit put it on them. So I'm excited to see what round 2 of this fight looks like. Kris Pursiainen, ClutchPoints. He joins us on the show. My first time talking to him, hit him up a couple of days ago, and I was like, yo, let's get this thing popping. So Kris, Ty Butler, hosting you on the show. Good to meet you, my man. Thank you for joining.
What's going on? There we go. My mic should be good now. What's going on, man? Thanks for having me. Good to meet you in a very 2026 way over
Absolutely.
computer, but that's how I do it, man. That's how I met some of my best friends to this day. So that's the power of the internet, and clearly, as I've learned covering this team of Knicks Twitter.
Well, look at that. Maybe one day we'll become best friends.
Hey, man, look at that. I didn't even. I set us up nice there. Look at that.
Yeah, there we go. So just give us a rundown of, before we get into the Knicks conversation, just give the audience a rundown of what you got cooking, what you got working on over there on your side.
Yeah, absolutely. So I write pretty much, I like to say I write for any type of Knicks fan. And as someone who covers the whole NBA, I cover the whole WNBA. But being here in New Jersey and New York, I do that primarily at Madison Square Garden and Barclays. So a lot of Knicks, Nets, Liberty, really mostly Knicks and Liberty. I write for ClutchPoints.com. That's where I do my reporting and my game stories and my feature stories on the Knicks. So you want to learn more about a specific player or what Mike Brown is doing, or maybe a little disconnect between Brown and a player, or just how the game went, that Clutch Points is your best bet. But I also write for dailyknicks.com, and that's 50 posts a month, 50 articles a month on there from me personally. And you get at least 50 from the rest of my team of writers as well. So 100 minimum articles every month, just about everything going on with the Knicks. Like, for example, this trade deadline was crazy. We talked about every perspective, every angle. I've got a piece coming that's just a short one. Just, what draft picks do the Knicks have left that they can trade? What will they be able to trade this summer? How does that affect their Giannis pursuit? So just little angles like that, man, where it's like, oh, I'm wondering about this, that, or the third. Like, we got you covered over at Daily Knicks.
That's awesome, man. Good for you. Shout out to you and all the work that you're doing. You brought up Giannis. So before we get to the game, let's start there because that seems to be the biggest story, headlining this Knicks season, for better or for worse. They did come away from the deadline as a winner in that regard. He's still in Milwaukee, and so you don't give him that like head start with another organization to where he decides, yeah, I'd rather stay here and sign an extension. But they're also going to have some competition, man. Houston, depending on what happens with them, they have some draft capital and some young assets. You've got San Antonio. The Spurs look great this year, but they could get to the offseason and decide, we've got a superstar in Wemby. Let's add another one in Giannis. We're a championship contender. Let's do that. How about this? OKC gets clipped early. They've got a bunch of young players and assets they can flip. And so, I'm a Laker fan, so maybe this is like an inherent bias. The Lakers are going to have 3 first-round picks and maybe Austin Reeves in the sign and trade situation. So when we get to the summer, there are going to be a lot of suitors. I think the Knicks, like according to reports, like are the favorites to land Giannis, but I mean that's 4-5 months from now, so a lot of things can change. Obviously, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my first thought is after the victory lap that the Bucks and Giannis are doing after the trade deadline, I think he should never request a trade anywhere to anywhere ever again in his career. I think if you're doing all this joking about, oh, I'm going to trade Shams now, and yawn emojis getting tweeted by the Bucks social at 3:01 p.m. because they didn't trade yet. Like, you gotta see it through now. Now you gotta play the rest of your career there. So I'm very unexcited to do this all again in 4 months. But
yeah, it feels draining, right? Like this just kind of drained us. Like we were beating ourselves over the head with this because like we felt like we were gonna get to a climax, and then he stays in Milwaukee. So now we got to do the whole dance again.
It's tough when no matter where you flip on a TV or anything of any kind, someone's saying, hey, this may or may not happen. It's tough to not be like, well, what if it happens? That's our human instinct. But I love on top of that how after weeks of everyone being like, hey, this may or may not happen, now that it didn't happen, everyone is like, well, we knew this was never gonna happen. No, you didn't. But anyway, all that aside, all that aside, I do think Giannis, like, I think you just got to follow the money here. And in that regard, in this situation, it's more about following the reporting. Something happened with the Knicks over the last few days leading up to the trade deadline, and it's that they kind of just fell out of all of the reports. So we went from Shams saying Knicks, Timberwolves, Warriors, Heat, Knicks, Timberwolves, Warriors, Heat. Stein and Fisher then are like, well, we all know it's either the Heat, Warriors, or Timberwolves. Huh? Why not the Knicks? I thought they were one of the 4 major players. Any explanation? And they like never addressed it. Or they said something like, New York doesn't really have like the best offer right now. But that's the thing is,
we knew
were they ever in the conversation because they had the best offer?
It's a mess, man.
They were never in the conversation because they had the best offer. Having the best offer is why these other teams are in the conversation. the Knicks are in the conversation because the conversation is about where does Giannis want to go?
Mm-hmm.
The answer is the Bucks. He wishes that everything was great up there and they had 3 superstars that developed homegrown alongside him and he would never have to leave. But he's exhausted of doing this finals MVP level play. Did you see the season he was having before this whole trade mess started?
Yeah,
Because he was
he's like
having
38-8, right?
he was having as like by the advanced impact metrics, he was having as good of a year, damn near as SGA. So we know what he brings on defense. To be giving us something close to the offense of a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you're tweaking. Like that's an insane season, and now it's kind of overshadowed by this whole mess. I do think Giannis wishes that everything was great in Milwaukee and he never had to go anywhere, but he's exhausted of needing to play that well to fight their tails off to be in the play-in. Like, that's what he doesn't want. So, yes, he's looking into leaving. He's been looking into leaving. That doesn't mean he's like excited to pack his bags. I think when they lose games in the fashion that they lost some games, that rivalry week game, and everything, like, okay, that's going to maybe accelerate the process or make things feel a little urgent. But to me, the underlying theme of the story here is Giannis wants to stay in Milwaukee, but we're getting closer and closer to it building up to the point of him being like, all right, you got to get me out of here.
And it's best for both sides. Just to get people to weigh in on the chat. Yo, hit us up in the chat. We got a Let's Go. We got Soul Train at 68 saying, let's rock with Towns. Let's go Knicks. Listen, it's the best of both worlds because I did make the case early in the season that it would be, for right now, better to see what you can get out of this group. But then the closer we got to the trade deadline and the Knicks lose 9 of 11 and Cat appears to be like disengaged. You're not getting your best from Bridges. I'm like, listen, these championship windows don't stay open as long as we thought. Ask Giannis, who, after they Bucks won the title in 2021, we thought this was his league. They haven't won a playoff series since, or they've won one playoff series since then. Giannis has played in one meaningful series in 4 years. It's that 2022 Celtics Game 7, Grant Williams. And so I thought, all right, push all the chips into the table, go get Giannis and try to win a championship in a year where there's no Tatum, there's no Tyrese Halliburton. But I think this works out because now you still can get Giannis in the offseason, and you also get to see what this team looks like going forward. And, post-trade deadline kicks off tonight, which is why I'm fascinated, in Detroit against a Pistons team that smoked them by 31 the last time they played them. Now, unfortunately, Cat is doubtful. He's got the eye laceration going on. Fortunately, Josh Hart looks like he's going to play tonight. But the Pistons coming off of a loss last night. They lost to the Wizards, second out of a back-to-back, the Knicks favorite in this game. I'm excited to watch it. Is it the end-all be-all? No, but it's a nice little regular season litmus test for both teams.
Yeah, 100%. I think this is going to be one of those games where you kind of have to throw the last matchup out of the window. Like, the Pistons were rolling, the Knicks were doing the opposite. They were reeling, and the Pistons did what good teams do, which is they didn't play with their food. They took advantage of a bad team. The Knicks were a bad team that night, and they beat the crap out of a bad team. This is seemingly a different Knicks team right now. They're winners of 8 straight because they decided that they needed to fall back in love with basketball, that they needed to fall back in love with the fundamentals because they were playing like they were above them. And as they've gotten back to playing like they're not above the fundamentals or executing the coach's desires and scheme and everything, you get comments like that one from Soul Train. It's like, let's just rock with Towns. Like, I think his play over these 8 games has made that really easy to say. He's been bought in. He's been contributing on both ends of the floor. He's boxing out. He's rebounding. He's bleeding. He's passing the ball.
He's bleeding.
he's put his body on the line, man. So, I think there is something to whatever it takes to get Cat motivated it's happening right now.
But here's the thing. Let me just come in real quick with this. To get Cat motivated, man, you're the second best player on a team expected to win its conference. Why would you not be motivated? And then I have this right here this was the win in, I forget what game this was.
Toronto.
Is this Toronto? Okay, yeah. Oh yeah, this was the game in Toronto where the Raptors were rolling and Bridges had a big game. The Knicks went in there and spanked them. And I just found this quote jarring. And this is from Bridges. I think I wasn't coachable enough. I don't know. Maybe I felt too entitled. Had to talk myself, be coachable, be the best team. Talk to myself, be coachable, be the best teammate I could be. Let the basketball speak for itself. And I'm like, my dude, too entitled. 0-time All-Star, 0-time All-NBA player, 0-time champion, Mikal Bridges feeling too entitled? The hell are we talking about here? Why would you, of all people, feel entitled?
Regardless of what you think of it or what the calculus was that ended up, leaving the front office in a position where they decided, okay, because we only gave up RJ and IQ for OG, we only gave up 1 first-round pick. That's a trade where we really should have given up 2 or 3 first-round picks. So now, if we take 1 or 2 first-round picks and add that to the 1 or 2 first-round picks that you should give up for a player like Mikal, and then give them no players because we're going to send Randall and Dante for Cat, so we just add Mikal to the roster as is. Like, that was the calculus, right? But regardless of what you think of any of that, this is a team that was on the way up, made the second round of the playoffs for a second straight year, and then decided to spend 5 first-round picks on adding Mikal Bridges. 5 first-round picks, as we know in the NBA, can get you a lot of different personnel, additions, a lot of different ranges of players. We saw Desmond Bane go for something similar. We've seen Jaren Jackson Jr. go for something similar. We saw the asking price for Lauri Markkanen be something similar. But they spent 5 first-round picks on Mikal Bridges. And as much as that might weigh on him and pressure him and give him expectations to live up to, that he may, what guy drafted, 10th overall, glue 3-and-D guy goes for 5 first-round picks? It's rare. Again, we explained earlier, 2 minutes ago, why the Knicks were in a unique position to do that and why it made sense for them at the time. But it happened. And to be someone who, okay, this team gives up 5 first-round picks for you, and then immediately has their best season in 25 years, and then you beat an all-time rival in large part because of 2 major crunch time plays, and then you go into the next season, new coach, he's telling them how to do things, and hey, I know you guys had the best season in 25 years, but now you got to do everything my way because your bosses decided this would be better. So now you have to be different and listen to me and this and that. As much as they may have wanted some of those changes, it is a large adjustment. But they go to Las Vegas. They come out on top of Wemby and the Spurs in a winner-take-all, single elimination tournament against the entire rest of the NBA. They win. And the other 2 teams, it's not like I don't want to throw strays here. I was gonna just name fringe all-stars, but it's not like the Magic or the Hawks or the I don't know, the Grizzlies or the Rockets over the last couple years. It's not like those were the teams that won the cup. It was Giannis and the Bucks. It was LeBron and AD and the Lakers that won the NBA Cup. Now it's Jalen Brunson and the Nova guys and Cat and the New York Knicks. So they have accomplished so much in a short period of time with this guy who they traded their future for. And I can understand whether you think it's justified or not, whether you think whatever you think about it is fine. You can think what, but I'm just laying out the facts of I personally can see how some of the guys on the team may have gotten a little comfortable. And that's the word that I think Deuce McBride used was, We're a little too comfortable
I don't.
in the highs.
I hear all that. Mikal Bridges. I mean, there's no excuse for that man to feel entitled. Like, come on, dude. Like, you can talk about the NBA Cup, and the goal here is to win an NBA championship, which they have not done yet. They have not accomplished what the goal is, and proof of what the team's ceiling is in the eyes of ownership was they fired Tibbs after the most successful season in a quarter century. And so the point is, I didn't love that comment from Mikal Bridges. It didn't make sense to me. But to their credit, they have been on fire, man. 8 straight wins. The defense has been significantly better. And there are moments where you watch the Knicks and you think to yourself, yeah, I can absolutely see them winning a championship. Then there are moments where you watch them and you're like, when this thing falls apart, I know exactly why it'll fall apart, which is why like this season has been kind of a tale of two tapes. They had the 2-11 stretch or the 2-9 stretch in 11 games.
Yeah.
But back to tonight, this is, again, not the end all be all, but there are certain moments during a regular season where you're like, all right, I'm locking in because this means something. And I think it means more for the Pistons because it's the Pistons who have to, if this is like a courtroom, they got to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that they're better than the Knicks.
Yep.
The Knicks last year beat them in the playoffs, and I get the Pistons are better this time around, but the Knicks had that equity. The Knicks went further than them in the postseason. The Pistons haven't won a playoff series. Yeah, the Pistons haven't won a playoff series.
Now do it again. Now do it again. Now do it in the playoffs.
They haven't won a playoff series since 2008, which is like crazy, Detroit. And so, look, I'm pumped for this game. I don't want to make too much of it, but the two best teams in the Eastern Conference are squaring off tonight. You've got KD versus Brunson. You've got
fun regular season litmus test.
That's fun. Eastern Conference Finals preview.
That's allowed.
So let's get to it. How do you see this
ECF preview? Well, first of all, I see the ECF being Cleveland and New York. I love that James Harden move for them. I love the Harden and the Schroeder and Ellis moves for them. I think upgrades for them based on what they had to start the season and how many games that Garland was playing, what they were getting out of Hunter, etc. Like on paper, team should have been much better, but now I think it is better. So that's my first.
It is better. It's better, but I mean, Harden's got that. There's this thing that happens with James Harden every year. I don't know if you've noticed it. He gets to the playoffs and all
the flanderization of Harden.
He's not the same player.
This is the flanderization of James Harden. We focus on the negative, which I understand because it's very consistent. But is what you do get from him, is that not better than what you would get from Darius Garland through the rest of the year? May I remind you the tour dates that Garland was shooting in the playoffs, not just against the Knicks in
he was hurt
23. I mean, in recent years, this guy in the playoffs consistently, it's kind of a thing where in the regular season, it's like, should he be the clutch player of the year? He's won them several games. Donovan defers to him in crunch time, and Garland wins them ball games. And then it gets to the playoffs, and it's the same thing as Harden. So I don't get why not just have Harden. But anyway,
no, I agree. Like in the short term, I think it doesn't. It raises their ceiling. I just don't know that. Like I can trust James Harden. Not that I don't know. I know I can't trust James Harden in a big spot because I mean, 17 years into your career, you just are what you are, and there are too many like 3 for 15.
I get it, but now 14. He's got Donovan. Now that's Donovan's team.
Yeah,
right?
just like it was KD. Yeah, but just like it was KD's team, it was
Harden was great on the Nets.
Yeah, until Game 7 happened against the Bucks, and he couldn't hit a shot. But I guess that was his hamstring, right? Like that's what we're gonna roll with.
You just did it for Garland. All right. Anyway,
and then there was the Clippers last year, right? It was Kawhi's team, and then Clippers bow out in 7 games.
Right, but now it's Mitchell and Mobley and Allen, and I don't know, man. They got some dogs. I like it. But the Pistons, and the reason why I like the Cavs more than the Pistons is because the Pistons have one creator. It's Cade Cunningham. He's one of the best in the league at doing that. The Cavs have 2 of the best in the league at creating offense. The Knicks have one of the best in the league at creating offense, and then one of the best play finishers in Cat, maybe the best corner 3-point shooter in OG. The guy who can go 28 minutes and 35 seconds without scoring in
And then
Mikal
hit
Bridges
and
and
then hit a
still positively impact the game in those 28 minutes. Like, I think he was a net positive in those 28 minutes. I usually come away from games being like, Mikal should have demanded the ball more. He should have ran to the ball and taken it. He should just shoot more mid-range shots. I didn't think in that stretch that he was bad. I thought he was actually good, and he didn't score a single point. He was 0 for 3. Like, Mikal's that's his shtick. That's why they traded for him. To me, the Knicks have multiple guys. The Cavs have multiple guys. The Pistons have multiple guys that are good. But when it comes to real offensive creators, they have one guy.
Yeah, I would argue. I would argue though the Pistons roster is better than the Cavs.
I think Stewart is a great defender. I think the athleticism they get from their young guys like Thompson and Holland is key. But I think what the Cavs have in Mobley and Allen, the versatility in the front court, being able to put Mobley at the 5, I think the Pistons don't have that. They have Duren or Stewart. The Cavs have Mobley or Mobley, and that's more of like the Cat Mitch, Mobley, Allen, like. It's multiple looks. It's a fastball and a changeup. The Pistons have a really great fastball. It's really, really good, and it's why they have been legit dominant in the regular season. I think when this gets to the postseason, you see that a team like the Knicks throw OG Anunoby on Cade and let the rest of the guys.
That's where Cade's gotta get contributions from, like the Duncan Robinsons.
100%, and they just they just acquired Kevin Huerter.
Kevin Huerter, who's gonna add some shooting. The Karis LeVert's, who I thought the Cavs, like, who would help that Cavs engine when he was there. But it's gonna be fun, man. Like all of this just leads to it being and then throw in Boston.
Well, yeah. So like
this just leads to it being a more exciting conference than we thought we were getting coming into the season.
100%. And when you look at the Pistons, how good Jalen Duren's been defensively for them this year, I think has been the real leap. That's what makes the regular season matchup tonight really interesting to me, because you have this Knicks team that we know is very good at scoring the basketball, but if Jalen Duren is giving you good defense from the center position, all of a sudden the offensive rebounding, the passing from him, the ability to put the ball on the floor, that's all gravy, because what his biggest value that he's giving them is that defense against the Knicks star players. So if he can provide a little bit of that level water that for Cade to sail on, they might have some smooth times against the Knicks, because there are going to be stretches where that Pistons team is able to just send Cade barreling into the paint, pass out to an open shooter. Knicks are going to close out because they're executing their defensive principles right now. Pistons, make the extra pass. Make the extra pass.
You got to make them.
Someone will.
It's basically the Nuggets game from the other night, but like Jokic, Peyton Watson, those guys.
That's the thing, is Mitchell Robinson can stop Jokic and Embiid in the same 2-week stretch, but I don't know if the Knicks, especially Jose Alvarado, isn't playing tonight, so it damn sure won't be him. But I don't know if the Knicks have the regular season Cade Duren stopper.
No,
that OG would be in the playoffs. OG has been that in the playoffs. We saw it last spring, but yeah. Also, I think it's worth noting, I don't know how much I buy their shooters. Isn't Kevin Huerter shooting like 30% from 3 this year?
But career-wise, like that's
I think they need a big bounce back there. Duncan, I liked that ad for them. Kris, consistently, I didn't like him in Cleveland. I don't like him in Detroit. I think
too much of a green light for me.
I think he is, a little too much in that Norm Powell role sometimes, when he should be a little more in a Jordan Clarkson role, which is like Norm Powell is in the game to shoot and shoot and shoot and score. Jordan Clarkson is in the game to dribble and shoot and score, which is a little different. There's a third responsibility in there. So sometimes I think Kris needs to do a little more playmaking, but other than that, he's fun.
And then anything you get from Oscar Thompson offensively is a plus, because like we know he's out there for his All NBA-esque defense, and so
that's the Hart and Mitch thing, right? Like in the playoffs, Mitchell Robinson and Josh Hart's offensive rebounding or rather Mitch's offensive rebounding and Josh's ability to get hot from 3 allows them to be out there. Ausar, while he projects as the better shooter between him and his brother, hasn't really put that together yet. So can the Knicks just throw Mitch on him? Because we know it's not easy to get by Mitch.
That's rough.
And then you don't have to guard. Mitch doesn't have to guard him out to the 3-point line. If he goes 2 for 6, the Knicks are fine with that.
Yeah, I don't know. You put Mitch on him because Mitch's presence on the interior is such a value.
Leave him in the interior. That's the point.
You don't want to
He
bring
doesn't
him
have
out
to
of
follow it. No, he's not going to follow.
Oh, you're
him.
saying just sag, like give him the Draymond Green treatment.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. The Josh Hart treatment. Just put the center on him and stay home. Because that's in the regular season, Ausar can burn you. He can go 4 for 7 from 3 in a game. But over a 7-game series, that's game 2. That's now, not game 1, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Because I know like you're big into the X's and O's, we can kind of nerd out. See, if I'm JB Bickerstaff and Thompson's shot making isn't like what it needs to be and he's being left wide open, you just watch like the Golden State Warriors tapes where Draymond would just become the screener for any of these guys who can shoot. And then that's how you
how bad do you want Mitchell Robinson getting involved in guarding pick and roll? Like you're on purpose bringing Mitch into a pick and roll and feeding Cade to him. I don't know, man.
Yeah, but if it pulls him from the basket and now you got this other action happening.
OG. That's OG time. That's weak side rim help. That's OG time. So
yeah, but you're still down a man. So
I think the Knicks have the personnel for this in the playoffs. In the regular season,
maybe
in the regular season, it's Lob City.
They still have some minus defenders that it gets lost. And this is me again. I picked the Knicks to get to the finals.
Yeah.
So I believe that they can win these series, but masking some of like their deficiencies is the 8-game win streak. They still have minus defenders in Brunson, who yes will give you effort and there's value in like him taking charges, but teams are going to pick on him. Cat is awful defensively, so there's a lot that still needs to go right for them. In addition to OG, Mitch and Josh being stellar defensively, and I also don't think Bridges has been the defender that we all expected him to be.
No, I think Mike Brown has been caught a little off guard. He was saying Deuce McBride and Landry Shamet have been the team's best on-ball defenders so far this year, recently. And that, to me, with McHale on the roster, is loud, right? Is what I've been calling that. Because it's not some, slight. It's not some insult. It's just crediting Miles and Landry for being the best on-ball defenders on the team so far this year. But that is also like, McHale's on that roster. They gave up 5 first-round picks for him to be by far the best on-ball defender on the team. Like it's a credit to how good Miles McBride is. I think he's one of the most underrated players in the entire NBA still. And a credit to how good Landry Shamet has been, that those guys have been the best on-ball guys. But also, I think that's just as much of a statement about Bridges from Brown as it is about those two guys. I think Alvarado coming in helps with that a lot. Obviously, he's not going to play tonight against the Pistons, but like that's another guy who's going to join right away that grit gang of Hart, Robinson, McBride, and Shamet. Now there'll be a 5th player out of the 9 in the rotation that are, is putting their body on the line all the time just to win games and doesn't care about the box score or anything at all. Like, and it leaves Jalen, Carl, OG, and McHale as the other 4, which they're the other 4 for a reason. But you want to have 5 guys that are part of that grit gang if those are going to be your 4 top players, and you're going to get the contact avoidance that you've gotten from Bridges, the offensive fouling and the foul trouble that you've gotten from Towns. Like, you need to have good backups.
That's another thing. I'm glad you just brought that up. Here's what's concerning to me. There are far too many times I'm watching the Knicks. Towns picks up his 4th foul, goes to the bench, and I'm like, that's actually bad news for the opposing team. I felt that watching the Denver game. Like, I'm like, the Knicks are going to win this because Jokic was bullying Towns. You see him in the paint just bullying Towns. Jamal Murray is able to get the switch. Mitchell Robinson, who obviously is a much better defender, is not Jokic, who I still don't believe is 100%, but wasn't able to do that same thing to Mitch. So it forced Jokic to the 3-point line. And he's getting good looks at times, but it just wasn't Jokic's game. Jokic is not a guy who's going to shoot 12 threes in a game. And so when I watch and I see the Knicks play better and I feel better about them when Cat's on the bench, I just feel like that's a major concern for me.
Yeah, I don't think it has to be a concern. I don't think it has to be one. I think the Knicks have Karl Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson. It's after the trade deadline. Both of these guys are on their roster. We saw last postseason the team consistently play at its best when the four guys that we just talked about, Jalen, Karl, OG, and Mikal, were out there, and the fifth guy was Deuce McBride or Mitchell Robinson as opposed to Josh Hart. That's when the Knicks played their best basketball. I don't think that's some indictment on Karl Anthony Towns or anything. I think that just shows Hart isn't really the level of defender that should complement those four guys. But then you realize when you look into the rest of the lineup data that that's a bit of a foregone conclusion that you jumped to. Like, there was no need to jump to that, and the data shows that if you put Mikal or OG on the bench and leave Josh out there and put in one of Mitch or Deuce, that the data is still much better. The lineups perform much better. So, I think for the Knicks, they just need to lean into their different personnel groupings. They need to be unafraid to play whatever grouping works best for that matchup. Like, teams win deep in the playoffs because they're versatile. The Oklahoma City Thunder got to the NBA Finals, or they got close to the NBA Finals when they decided to change their starting lineup, and they benched their $29 million center for a second-year, third-year player. And no one cared because it's the Thunder and people trust them to be doing the right thing. But then when it's the Knicks and it's Karl Anthony Towns, all of a sudden it's a problem. I don't think it's a problem. Also, Karl is starting games. They're just not always closing with him, whether he's in
isn't that part of that is
or
proof of concept? Proof of
in
concept.
the same weekend, they had the Philadelphia game where Karl fouled out and Mitchell had to close the game. But they also then played Sacramento. Karl was not in foul trouble. He only had like 2 fouls, and they took him out and closed the final 4 to 5 minutes of the game with Mitchell because the defensive identity was working best in that game. The Knicks are going to lose to themselves if they are more concerned with how much salary is on the court versus the bench than they are, hey, what personnel grouping is our opponent playing? What is the best counter to that? There have been recent games where Mikal Bridges has closed games on the bench and Landry Shamet has been in instead of him. I would say that is easily more concerning because those swaps were not just because Landry was hot. They were because Mikal was cold. Those are much more concerning than any of the games where Mitchell closed and Karl didn't, even though Karl wasn't in foul trouble, are, because that's just knowing your personnel. That's just being a good coach and looking at the other team.
Let me challenge you here, though, because you are trying to make it analogous to what the Thunder did last year in the finals. But here's the difference. Benching Isaiah Hartenstein is less controversial than benching Cat, who's a better player.
What does controversy matter? Just win ball games.
No, absolutely. If you're a head coach, I think you should be focused on that. But my point is, as we're watching the experience, because if you go back to the finals last year, that was a point of contention. The broadcast highlighted it. Being on NBA Twitter, we're all like, wow, like this is ballsy. Like, is it going to work? And if it works, then cool, you're a great coach. If it doesn't, it backfires and you're criticized for it. But in real time, as we're analyzing a Knick team expected to get to the finals, it is natural for us to sit here and wonder, your second best player goes to the bench, you get better. Sure, whatever the data says, whatever the number says can be one thing, but we're watching it happen. He's involved in trade rumors, which, by the way, is not going away. It's just being kicked down the road until the offseason. So it's just alarming for us to sit here and watch that.
Sure. I think a lot of what you explained, though, is why that disappointment comes from self-imposed expectations. Like, you're describing very rational comments and critiques to make and have based off of what's going on the court in front of you. But you also said, like, the data can say one thing, but we're seeing another. It's kind of the opposite. It's if you're seeing something, you check the data to see if that's real or not. Like, for example, if the team keeps playing better with Karl Anthony Towns on the bench, then his on-off will be negative.
No, but that's my point. That was my point. I'm saying if the data is saying something, like, fine. What I'm saying is optically, the optics of your all-star player,
Got you. I get it.
All-NBA guy, third team All-NBA guy, your team being better with him on the bench is just jarring.
Against certain matchups. They're not actually better with him on the bench, like, overall. No. If against a certain matchup where the Knicks could use a more defensive identity, and given that their best player is not a defender, they can't afford a second bad defender. To me, that's as much of a criticism of Brunson as it is of Towns. Correct. So Brunson just doesn't get the criticism because it's like, well, they need to have a best player. And, guys like Luka and these other stars, they don't defend. So what does it matter? To me, it's the same thing. I think
but Brunson's also better than Cat. He
star players just either defend or don't. And the guys that just don't, it's kind of accepted that they just don't. I think it's accepted that Brunson just doesn't. I think there are guys who are worse than Karl Anthony Towns who it's accepted that they just don't. Now, are they paid more than him? Maybe not, right? But when you are playing a game, when you're whether a coach, a player, whatever, like, these guys are thinking about what can we do right now to give this team the best chance to win. And they're not thinking about, well, he makes this much more than this guy and this and that, right? And I think the takeaway here needs to be, if caring about winning is getting you wins, then whatever you're doing is fine. Yeah. If you're winning, you don't need to say, well, hold on, we're winning, but we're not doing it how other people would. So is this wrong? Like, the Knicks are definitely in a weird spot with Karl Anthony Towns making as much money as he does, being the marquee player that he is, and not defending the same way that Brunson doesn't, even though Towns' defense has been fine overall this year. Like, it's obviously not one of his strong points or close to it. It also hasn't been one of his biggest weaknesses or close to it this year. It's kind of been in the middle, I would say, this season. But, like, that is just – nothing's going to change about that. You just make the most of it. If the Knicks making the most of it wins them games, gets them to the Eastern Conference Finals in the first season with Towns on the roster, I don't think it's a problem at all. I don't see the problem. You could say it's odd. You could say
I think the problem will end
unusual.
Up being, I think the problem will be that the noise grows so loud, like the Giannis trade happens this summer.
Sure, but is that a problem, or is that you just got Giannis Antetokounmpo?
Well,
who's that a problem for?
In the lead up to the Giannis trade.
Sure, but also that it could have happened before the deadline, and Karl Anthony Towns looked locked into me. And at the start of that 8-game win streak, he was spending time before games, having more extended conversations than usual with assistant coaches and team management. I think just getting his mentality in the right space and locking in for the upcoming game. And then he was playing great. And whether he was scoring the ball or not, whether he was making threes or not, whether they were calling fouls or not, he was rotating on defense. He was doing what he needed to do. No one gave him any medals. No one said he deserved an award. No one gave him a hard hat and Tim's. He hasn't, he didn't win defensive player of the game. But he did what he needed to do. And Mike Brown said after, I forget, I think it was the game before they played the Lakers. So that Friday night game, maybe that was the Trailblazers.
Blazers.
Mike Brown said after the game, like, that's what great players do. He had 2 straight games with 20 plus rebounds. Like he realized that's what the team needed right
Oh,
now.
he
And
had 42 rebounds in 2 games.
that's how he could help us. So he just did it. That's what great players do. Like I think you're seeing Karl Anthony Towns locked in, even knowing that if Giannis, decided in the next couple days that he was going to the Knicks no matter what, that Karl Anthony Towns might have been traded in that exact trade. But he was dialed in, and he's been helping the Knicks, who are again in the middle of winning 8 straight, in large part because Jalen Brunson has been a superstar, in large part because Mikal Bridges, whether in 30-point games or 0 point and 30-minute games, is helping the team with his presence out there. And
OG, I actually think OG's been the second best Knick this year. Overall.
In this stretch, he 100% has, because his scoring, his defense, his athleticism, everything that him being out there is unlocking for Jalen Brunson and this team is just, it's like riding a bike downhill. The offense is layering onto itself. So
and the rebounding too, like shouldn't go unnoticed.
The athleticism and the functionality of that. But to me, this is all the same thing as the Karl Anthony Towns conversation. Is the Knicks have got to be okay with Mikal Bridges having 30 points one night and 0 the next. That's the guy they traded for. The Knicks have got to be okay.
I think it's more about he has to be okay with that.
I think he seems fine with it, especially with the quote you put up, like coming after a 30-point game. I think that's him showing that maybe he does feel a little better after a huge scoring game, but he's also like, to me, it's just as loud that 20, 22, 24, 26, 28 minutes into a scoreless night, he's still changing the game defensively and pushing the ball up the floor to his teammates who are hot. And he's making the right winning plays, and he's not demanding the ball, and there's no ego and whatever. That's the exact guy they traded for. Like, I think a lot of the anger at Mikal Bridges is reasonable, but it's also a little misdirected. This is exactly who they wanted him to be. He's doing it, right?
I think they wanted him to be a better defender. That part I disagree with. They expected him to be a much better defender than he is.
His style of defense has always been chasing guys around, and he has not been a physical point of attack defender under either head coach, because that's never been his game. So you see them giving that responsibility to McBride, to Shamet, and then they do what at the trade deadline? They pick up another guy that can take that point of attack, roll on. So to me, that's the Knicks adjusting to what Mikal is going to be able to give them and saying, we're going to do a better job of surrounding him with personnel that can play 48 minutes of battle. Because now I think the Knicks are in a really interesting spot. The lineup change that could unlock the ceiling of this team, I think, could be starting Miles McBride over Josh Hart and having Brunson, McBride, Bridges, and Anunoby Towns. And then that second lineup of guys that sprinkle in there of Jose, Landry, Josh, Mitchell. I think that top 9 is their top 9. But I think the reconfiguration of it, having the Deuce go guard the point of attack physically in the starting lineup, so that Mikal Bridges can chase around guards and wings and funnel them to OG and Cat, not just to Cat. Because when Mikal's at the point of attack, he funnels the guys.
Yeah, but I mean, Miles is out now for a couple of months, and we'll see.
Right, but when he's back in the playoffs, I think this could be the Knicks' best personnel grouping. So,
and you also heard Josh Hart talk about how he's just better in the starting lineup, and so like you gotta.
Yeah, I think he can.
That's tough, Chris. But you gotta acknowledge that's tough.
You can be Josh. You can be Josh in any lineup, and you can be Josh in whatever, and he's got to decide: does he want to be Josh Hart under any circumstance? Because that's, to me, the appeal of Josh Hart is no matter what, he's Josh Hart.
But it also throws
I'm only going to be Josh Hart if I'm starting. Then that's not Josh Hart.
But it also throws a wrench into what this team is going to be building over the next couple of months. If like Miles comes back and then all of a sudden he's just inserted into the starting lineup. So I think we're getting a little too ahead of ourselves. We got.
I was going to say these are champagne problems.
Yeah, we got to look at what happens going forward. Before we get on out of here, so do you think the Knicks win the title this year?
That's crazy, man. That's a crazy bomb to drop on me out of nowhere. I will say it's a very easy to always just say no. Um, and I think that's going to have to be the easy answer I give here is the Knicks do not win the title this year. Maybe they um, who made a deadline move that or maybe
Like
the
the Cavs.
Nuggets. Maybe like I like the Cavs, man, but maybe they lose to the Nuggets in the finals.
Yeah,
The
I like
Knicks.
Denver. I like that. If Denver can get healthy, man, like Peyton Watson's down, got the hamstring issue. You know, Cam Johnson's out. Uh, you obviously got Aaron Gordon out, so they've got three like big injuries to their unit. Jokic just coming back. Christian Brown just coming back. So it's like every time they get guys back, they get more injuries. But I do like I really do like Denver, and I think if they're healthy, that's my pick to win a title this year.
Yeah, Jokic has to take them all the way, man, because he is everything in the NBA right now. Like you can put him out there and just win. They have some amazing players around him, but you also saw while he was out exactly like those players are amazing. They can hold the fort down without Jokic. He also saw why they need him and why he's a literal 3-time MVP. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this was fun, man. I hope we get to do this sometime again soon. Great
I'm
stuff.
with it.
Nice little
Hurry up,
back and
man.
forth. Come in knowledgeable with all the nuggets, and this is the type of stuff I like. I'm a hoops nerd, so I appreciate these types of conversations, and this is gonna be something we definitely do again sometime soon. So thanks, man.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks so much. Like I said, I'm always covering the NBA, the WNBA, but a lot of that happens primarily via Knicks and Liberty coverage. So glad I was able to bring some value to the show, my man.
Are you still at FAN or?
Yeah, yes and no. Like no, in the sense of Infinity Sports Network shut down forever. But also yes, in the sense of no one has emailed me firing me.
Well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make this
No, no,
like
no, 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 no. It's like
I just
funny. Like
know
it's like
that you were over there, so I wanted to,
yeah, yeah. Of course. It's interesting. We'll see, man. We'll see. I have no idea. We'll see. It's a
well,
mystery. It's a mystery.
hopefully that works out in your favor, man. I really appreciate you and I enjoy your work.
Absolutely, brother. Likewise.
Yo,
Thank you.
hit me with a Super Bowl prediction before you get on out of here.
Seahawks, but the Patriots somehow, some way, somewhere cover.
Oh, they cover. Is it 4.5 now?
Yeah, it's still 4.5. That line
Four and
is
a
not
half.
moving. Someone could
It's
put
not.
like 4 yachts on either side. They would not move that line. They
I
love
think
that line for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, because I mean this feels like a 27-23 game. So I think I'm gonna bet New England, even though it goes against
I want to
everything.
I want to say 21, like I want to say like 22-19. Like I want to say something
Ew.
disgusting. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well,
exactly. Ew, like
that was Chiefs Niners a couple years ago. That
yep.
might have been the first Mahomes Super Bowl, 22-19. Yeah, that's nasty. I don't think we want that. Yo,
I think
Chris,
I can see it. Well,
my
the
man.
Patriots defensive touchdown too.
Oh man, yo, Cardi B, go crazy. Chris, appreciate you, man. I'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Dominicans, let's go. All right, I'll catch you.
Let's go. That was a fun conversation. Shout out to the Knicks fans who hopped on in here. Give me a follow at Ty D Butler. You can find me on X. You can find me on Instagram. Getting it popping on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button on TikTok as well. I got some NFL content I'm going to drop on TikTok and on Instagram. Maybe in the next couple of hours here. I appreciate you guys for joining the show. Once again, before we get on out of here, I keep pumping this. I want to get people to help me with the 2026 United Half Marathon. I am running next month, so I am, looking for people to submit some donations to the Sips and Kicks Foundation. It is for an excellent cause. It is to provide nutrition to our young kids who are underprivileged. So this organization does a great job of doing that, providing nutrition to young kids and getting them involved in athletic activities like soccer. So the Sips and Kicks Foundation, it's a link you can find on my Instagram, on my Twitter, on my YouTube page. So if you feel so inclined. Every donation counts. We are going to do this thing together as a unit in the 2026 United New York City Half Marathon, raising money for kids. So if you are able to do so, hit that link. No donation is too small. I appreciate you guys. Once again, it's all over my social media pages at Ty D Butler. And I thank you if you're able to do that. Appreciate y'all for tuning into the show today. Might be back tomorrow, might be back tonight, depending on how this Knicks Pistons game goes. We'll see if I gotta pull up for a little post-game recap. Knicks in Detroit tonight. They're 1.5-point favorites. No Karl Anthony Towns, who's got the eye laceration, but it looks like Josh Hart's going to play. So I'm excited for it. It's a litmus test. Both teams. It's an important game for both teams. Knicks with a chance to get to a 9-game win streak. And they got Boston on Sunday. So back-to-back hitters for the Knicks. The two teams that are coming for them in the conference, the Pistons and the Celtics, they get to play them both this weekend. We're post NBA trade deadline, so we know what the roster is. But if you're Detroit, that spanking that you delivered to the Knicks 3 weeks ago, not going to matter too much if you go out there and lay an egg tonight. Pistons coming off a pathetic loss last night against the Wizards. So they've got to rebound. Big game for them. I think this game is more important for Detroit because the Knicks have some equity. We did see the Knicks beat them in the playoffs last year. We did see the Knicks get to the conference finals, whereas Detroit haven't seen them win a playoff series since 2008. And so big game for both teams, but I think it's more important for the New York Knicks. For the Pistons. But obviously the Knicks, this is a true test for them in their pursuit of trying to win the Eastern Conference. Once again, at Ty D Butler on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube. Smash the subscribe button. Hit me up on TikTok. And if you guys get an opportunity to head to the fundraiser page that is pinned to my Twitter profile and donate so we can help these kids at the Sips and Kicks Foundation. Appreciate you guys for joining the show. Mad love. Enjoy your weekend. Happy Super Bowl weekend. Go Seahawks, man. We don't need to see the Patriots winning another Super Bowl. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace and love. Holla at your boy.